Something remarkable was probably found somewhere in the world while you were listening to these words. Now, as you listen to this next sentence, another remarkable discovery will have been made. Incredible things are found all over the world every day, but perhaps none so amazing as the ones you're going to see in this video. Mohenjo-Daro, an ancient city in Pakistan, stands as a testament to the great Indus Valley civilization, rivaling the likes of ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. Discovered nearly a century ago, it's a Bronze Age marvel that reached its zenith around 2500 BCE. Home to about 40,000 people, this city was a marvel of urban planning with residential zones, advanced sewage systems, and even homes equipped with flushing toilets. Quite the feat for its time. The city has yielded tens of thousands of artifacts, including tools, seals, weights, and stunning pieces of art and jewelry, painting a vivid picture of a wealthy and advanced society. The city met its end around 1900 BCE, and the reasons behind its collapse remain a mystery. Despite surviving 5,000 years, Mohenjo-Daro now faces a dire threat. The combination of harsh weather, salt damage, and the impact of thousands of tourists is accelerating its decay. Alarmingly, it's estimated that this World Heritage Site could vanish within the next 20 years. Experts suggest that reburying the city might be the only way to preserve it. A fascinating discovery has been made by a team of researchers led by Dr. Michael Waters from Texas A&M University. They've identified the Manus bone projectile point as the oldest bone weapon ever found in the Americas, dating back an impressive 13,900 years. This discovery surpasses the age of the Clovis people's stone tools, previously thought to be the earliest in the region. The Manus point was first unearthed during an excavation in Washington state between 1977 and 1979. Using advanced CT scans and 3D software, the team meticulously reconstructed the bone fragments, revealing that they were part of a spear made from a mastodon's bone. This spear point is not only a significant find in terms of its age, but also because it's the first bone tool predating the Clovis era. The spear was likely used in mastodon hunting, as evidenced by its embedding in a mastodon rib. This finding sheds light on the ingenuity and adaptability of the first Americans, who crafted sophisticated tools from available materials. The Manus site, along with other early sites in the northwestern United States, offers valuable insights into the migration and lives of the first people in the Americas at the end of the last ice age. Our next discovery takes us to Sweden, where the wrecks of two 14th century seafaring vessels known as cogs were discovered in Varberg in the spring of 2022. The cogs were found in land that was earmarked for an archaeological survey ahead of the planned construction of a railway tunnel. The land is dry now, but during the medieval era, this was the shoreline of a town called Getakar. Cogs from this era are rare discoveries, and finding two of them so close to each other is unprecedented. To make the discovery even better, the larger of the two cogs is the best preserved example of its kind ever to be found in Sweden. Almost the entire port side of the ship still exists, measuring 67 feet long and 16 feet wide. There's less left of the smaller cog, with only a section of hull measuring 26 feet by 15 feet surviving. Analysis of timber samples indicates that the larger vessel was built in 1346 and the smaller one in 1357. The wood comes from France and Poland, so these weren't local ships. It's not yet clear what caused either of them to sink, or whether the sinkings occurred at the same time. A code of laws is the fundamental principle that underpins and unites a civilization. As far as anyone's aware, the oldest law code in the world is the Code of Ur-Nammu, which was written on clay tablets in the ancient Sumerian language in Mesopotamia around 3,070 years ago. The first version of the code was discovered in Nippur, Iraq in 1952, and is now in the Istanbul Archaeological Museum. The clay tablets bearing the code were badly damaged, so only 5 of the laws could be read and translated. Fortunately, further ancient copies of the same text were found in Ur in 1965. Experts are still working on translations to this day, but around 30 of the 57 known laws have now been translated and understood. The laws are credited to King Ur-Nammu of Ur, who lived between 4090 and 4110 years ago, so the laws were already ancient when the tablets were made. The first law written says that anyone who commits murder shall be killed, and the second law advocates the same offense for robbery. Kidnap, however, only merits a prison sentence and a fine. It seems stealing a person was a less serious offense than stealing their possessions. At the ancient stone quarry of Baalbek in Lebanon, a team from the German Archaeological Institute has made a groundbreaking discovery. They've identified a monolith that now holds the title of the largest known stone block ever carved by human hands. This colossal block, still partially buried, measures a staggering 64 feet in length, 19.6 feet in width, and at least 18 feet in height. Weighing an estimated 1,650 tons, it surpasses all previously discovered blocks from antiquity. Baalbek, a site with a history stretching back to at least 7,000 BCE, is famous for its megalithic foundations at the Temple of Jupiter. The temple itself is built on a platform of enormous limestone blocks, including the renowned Trilithon, 3 blocks, each weighing about 1,000 tons. The origin and method of moving these gigantic stones have long been a subject of debate, with some researchers like Graham Hancock suggesting they could be over 12,000 years old, predating Roman involvement. The newly discovered block lies next to the Hajar al-Hibla stone, another massive block weighing about 1,000 tons. The smoothness of the newly found block suggests it was intended for transport and use, but like its neighbor, it may have been abandoned due to flaws in the stone. The Vinca symbols, also known as the Vinca Turdas signs, are a collection of mysterious symbols found on Neolithic-era artifacts from the Vinca culture and related cultures in Central and Southeastern Europe. These symbols, which ceased to be used around 3500 BCE, have sparked considerable debate among archaeologists and historians. Some consider them to be one of the earliest forms of writing, while others view them as a type of pre-writing or proto-writing. The first discovery of these symbols was made in 1875 during excavations in Turdas, Romania, and later in Vinca near Belgrade, Serbia. Over 150 Vinca sites have been identified, but many remain unexplored. The symbols are mostly found on pottery, with some on spindle whorls, figurines, and other objects. They include a mix of abstract and pictographic designs, such as animal-like representations and geometric patterns. The largest collection of these symbols, with 5,421 signs, is cataloged in the .das database. The symbols predate the Proto-Sumerian script from Uruk, which is often considered the oldest known writing system by more than 1,000 years. However, their exact meaning and purpose remain a mystery. Some researchers suggest they might represent ownership marks, numerical signs, or religious symbolism, but there's no consensus on their interpretation. The existence of the Cockno stone is well known in Scotland, but it spent a lot of the past century hidden from view. The 42-foot-long rock slab was first discovered in 1887 and became a tourist attraction, but it was reburied in 1965 to prevent the priceless artifact from becoming damaged by exposure to the elements and by people walking on its surface. As scanning technology has progressed a lot since then, it was due to be unearthed again last year for a high-resolution scan that may tell us more about the purpose and origin of this strange Neolithic work of art. There are more than 90 markings on the stone, mostly made up of cup and rings, although there's also a ringed cross and what appears to be a pair of feet with 4 toes on each foot. Similar designs have been found all over Europe, dating back 3,000 years, but nobody has ever been able to determine their meaning or significance. As the Cockno stone is one of the most complete and detailed artifacts, it may offer us the best possible chance of discovering the truth. Let's talk about a mummy, but not an Egyptian one. Instead, Let's talk about the mummy of an ancient Persian princess who was discovered in November 2000. She was dressed up in a beautiful golden crown and mask and was placed inside a wooden sarcophagus. The whole sarcophagus was then placed inside a larger carved stone coffin. Helpfully, she was buried wearing a breastplate complete with an inscription that reads, "I am the daughter of the great King Xerxes. I am Rodagun." She was the first Persian mummy ever to be found and was said to be 2,600 years old. Here's the twist. Almost everything we just told you turned out to be a lie. Although the find was reported at face value at the time, including all of those details, it later transpired that the mummy was a fake. The grammar on the breastplate wasn't quite right, and there were anomalies in the mummification process. A further scientific study of the body showed that it had been dead for no more than 4 years at most and died of a broken neck. Either someone stole a body to create this elaborate fake, which briefly fooled some of the world's greatest experts, or someone was killed by the people who pulled off the con. The crime has never been solved. Certain groups of scientists could argue all day about whether the Klerksdorp spheres of South Africa are natural or artificial, and they'd never come to any agreement. The argument for them being artificial comes from the fact that they look so much like cricket balls. Many of them are red. Most of them look as if they've been polished, and the majority of them even have a seam running through the middle of them. To those who doubt that they have an artificial origin, though, the spheres are the product of an all-natural process called concretion and formed on their own over millions of years. South Africa is the only place in the world where they've ever been found, and even in South Africa, they're only found at the bottom of deep mines. Some Klerksdorp spheres contain traces of human-made metals, which seems to be compelling evidence for the idea that they were created by human hands. The problem with that is the age of the objects. Many of the Klerksdorp spheres have ages that can be measured in billions rather than millions of years, which makes the idea of human involvement in their creation absurd. Many of our American viewers may have heard of Gungewamp in Groton, Connecticut, but knowing it exists and understanding it are two different things. The entire site feels almost like it was designed to be a puzzle for archaeologists, with layers of artifacts piled up on top of each other seemingly out of chronological order. Over the years, archaeologists have found artifacts from the colonial era inside Neolithic era burial chambers. They found stone rings on top of the colonial era finds and strange inscriptions etched into the stone that they've never been able to translate. The lack of clarity over who founded the site and when has led to some fantastical claims being made. One story even says that Gungewamp was founded and settled by Celtic Christian monks who ran away from their Norse persecutors and made it to America during the 6th century. That can't be true though, because Gungewamp already existed in the 6th century. Experts have found direct evidence that the site was founded at least 3,500 years ago. The question of who by might never be answered. About 7,000 years ago, it became customary in ancient China to place large, intricately carved stone discs made from jade on the bodies of deceased aristocrats at the time of their burial. Nobody knows why the ancient Chinese did this. There are dozens of materials that discs could be made from as a way to honor the dead. Jade is one of the most difficult that these ancient craftsmen could possibly have chosen to work with, and yet they did. It must have had some kind of special significance which is lost on us. The discs are properly known as bai discs and are a product of the Neolithic era Liangshu culture. They've been found in the tombs of almost every noble or senior member of both the Liangshu and Hongshan cultures that archaeologists have been able to break into, where they are usually placed on the chest of the deceased. Most of them bear inscriptions that make repeated references to the sky. The craftspeople of this era wouldn't have had any metal tools at their disposal, so they must have made the discs through polishing and brazing, a process that would have taken several weeks per disc. The Meister print, also known as the Antelope Springs footprint, is a mystery that scientists would rather not be asked to explain. William Meister found the print by accident in 1868 when he was looking for trilobite fossils in the Wheeler Formation in Antelope Springs, Utah, USA. When he cracked open a slab, he found an impression that looked exactly like a human shoe print, right down to a clear division between the heel and the rest of the shoe. When measured, it corresponds to the exact proportions of a size 10.5 shoe. Meister was both excited and terrified by his discovery, as he knew there was no way it should be there. The Wheeler Formation is 500 million years old, and so, therefore, is the shoe print. Subsequent scientific investigations have suggested that the print was caused by a natural process known as spalling, in which rocks break away from each other and form patterns as they do so. But the fact that it looks so much like a shoe is hard to write off as a coincidence. Is this the footprint of an ancient time traveler? Probably not, but who can be sure?
Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon!